Hey guys, and welcome back to The Life of Con. I figured that with about 2 months left before the NFL season starts, now would be as good a time as any to start making some predictions. And since I'm a diehard Vikings fan, I figured I'd make some of the Vikings predictions. And last year I made a prediction of 11-5, and they ended up going 13-3. So don't say anything about my predictions being too biased, because I actually predicted them losing more games than they actually did last year. But anyway, let's get right into these predictions. But first, I just want to let you guys know that this video is sponsored by Apple. It's a paid sponsorship. Apple decided to give me some money for showing this off, so please buy some Apple products today. The first week is San Francisco. We're playing at home against San Francisco. Now I'm gonna give you some spoilers here. I'm gonna make a bold prediction saying that the Vikings are not gonna lose a home game this season. Their home field advantage with this new stadium is off the charts. It's gonna be insane, and looking at some of these, it's gonna be tough. So I'll kind of explain my reasoning behind them, but just a spoiler alert that I'm gonna say that all the home games are all going to be victories for the Vikings. So first, against San Francisco, people are hyping up San Francisco so much. As much as they're going to improve from last year, because they really did bad last year, they're not going to improve, I don't think, as much as everyone thinks they're going to. People are even calling them a threat to take a team down even in the playoffs this year. And in my opinion, they are going to miss the playoffs because, first of all, Jimmy G has not proven himself yet. Everyone says he's going to be this miracle quarterback that's going to take the 49ers to a Super Bowl in these next few years even. He's played, what, 5-6 total games that he's actually started in as a quarterback. He just hasn't proven himself to be that guy yet, and he should not have gotten the offer for, I'm not even sure how much he got, but he got way too much money than he deserves. For a quarterback who hasn't even proven himself yet. So I don't think the 49ers are going to be as good as everyone thinks they will be. But I say the Vikings win at least by 10. Then we go at Green Bay. Everyone's going to think I'm being biased by saying this, but Green Bay isn't going to be better than the Vikings. I'm just going to say that right now. Just because Aaron Rodgers is coming back, they don't have as complete of a roster as the Vikings do. Just because they're going to be an offensive superpower like they have been in the past because Aaron Rodgers is in there, they don't have the offensive line or the defensive front that can compare to these other teams that are making a threat in the NFC. So I don't think they're going to be as good as the Vikings this year. However, Lambeau Field is really hard to play at, so for week 2 I'm going to have to say that Green Bay wins that game against the Vikings. Going to week 3 at home against Buffalo. The Buffalo Bills were bad, and then they lost Tyrod Taylor. They're going to be even worse. So that game is going to be a washout. At the LA Rams, I say they lose this game as well. I'd say the Rams are going to be one of the best teams in the NFC this year. Around the same caliber as the Vikings, and playing at LA is going to be really tough. The Rams have an insanely complete roster. They've added so many different names on defense, like Aqib Talib and Ndamukong Suh. I think that's how you pronounce it. I've never understood how to pronounce that name. But they've added a lot of depth on defense, and they already were a good defense last year. And then Jared Goff really proved himself last year, and their offense is going to be just as good, if not better, as it was last year. Playing at the Rams is going to be really tough. I say they lose that game, so they'll be 2-2. And then there's going to be kind of a tear. The Vikings are going to go on kind of a winning streak, I think, because Philadelphia, I think, is going to take a step back. They do have Carson Wentz back. I'm not saying that they're going to be a less dangerous roster. I think their roster is going to be better even than it was last year, but I think they're going to take a step back just because Super Bowl teams usually do, and it's going to kind of make them a little complacent, and I think that they're going to lose some home games. And I think the Vikings can beat the Eagles at home for the conference championship rematch. So I say that they do defeat Philadelphia and get up to 3-2. Next, there's Arizona at home against Arizona, and Arizona is just going to be, I think, dreadful this year. They lost their defensive. They used to be so good on defense, and now they kind of lost that. David Johnson is the only person on that team that can keep them afloat, and that was proven last year when they lost him and they just completely fell apart. Even with David Johnson in there, there's only so much that David Johnson can do, as good as he is. And Sam Bradford is probably going to get hurt sometime in the season, because he always gets hurt. As much as I appreciated him being on the Vikings, he always got hurt. So Arizona is going to be really bad, and especially at home against the Vikings, I say the Vikings win that one. At the New York Jets, the Jets are always bad. They added a rookie quarterback that might start playing pretty soon. I don't think they're going to play Teddy Bridgewater as the starter anytime soon. They might never. Unfortunately, after that accident, Teddy Bridgewater is never really going to live up to the potential he could have had. That's really sad, because Teddy Bridgewater's one of the greatest people, I think, in the NFL, as far as his personality. But yeah, the Jets are always bad. It doesn't matter if it's home or away. Away at the Jets, the Vikings are still going to win. At home against New Orleans, this rematch, I think the Vikings are going to be just as hungry as the Saints. Everyone says that the Saints are going to come in and be mad about that loss, but the Vikings are just as mad about losing to the Eagles, so they're still going to be hungry. I think that the fans are going to be crazy, as always, and the Vikings are going to win at home against New Orleans, although it will be another really close game. And then week 9, we've got at home against Detroit. Detroit is always that team that's pretty close, but not quite there. And I think that's what's going to happen again this year, and against a team as good as the Vikings, they're not going to make it, especially at home. We're going to be at home for that game, so they're going to win week 9. So that leaves us at 7-2 going into the bye week 10. Week 11 at Chicago. It doesn't matter if it's home or away. They're going to win against Chicago. So that's going to be a win for me. At home against Green Bay. This is going to be, I think, a really good game. As I said before, the Packers are not as good a team as the Vikings, as much as everyone wants to say that Aaron Rodgers is going to come in and win a Super Bowl. I think they're going to win at home against Green Bay. Going into week 13, so they'll be 9-2 up to that point. Going into week 13, they'll be at New England, and I do think they're going to drop this game. They could give them a run for their money, and they could win this game. And it's kind of fun being a Vikings fan, knowing that even if the predictions say that they won't win, they could beat any team. They could be a Super Bowl team, and they could beat any team out there. So they could win that game, but I think they're going to drop it. And then they're going to play at Seattle. I say they're going to win this one. Everyone has them losing for some reason in the predictions I've seen, but Seattle is not the same team as they used to. Their defense has completely fallen apart. The Legion of Boom is no longer intact, as Richard Sherman has left the Seahawks. So with their defense the way it is, and their offensive line never having been strong, is going to be just as weak as before. I think that we're going to knock Russell Wilson to the ground a lot of times, and I think we're going to beat Seattle. And then we've got some pretty easy games after that. At home against Miami, against Ryan Tannehill or Jay Cutler, I don't know. The Dolphins really are not a good enough team to beat the Vikings, let's be honest. So they're going to also win that game week 15. At Detroit, that one's going to be close. Detroit, for some reason, we can never really do well at Detroit. We either drop a game at home against Detroit or we drop a game there, and I think we are going to be able to pull through and sweep the Detroit Lions this year. So I say they win at Detroit. And then there's just a gravy game at home against Chicago, which they will absolutely demolish Chicago. So my prediction stays at 13-3. I think the Vikings are going to be the exact same record as last year, and I feel like they will win the division again. And I know that's an unpopular opinion. I know it's going to sound like a very biased opinion and a very biased account of the schedule, but I do legitimately think that the Green Bay Packers are not, they can't just swoop in and win every game, every single season. Everyone thinks they're going to be this amazing team just because Aaron Rodgers came back, but they're not as complete a team as the Vikings, as I said before, and I think the Vikings are going to just barely beat them out for the division. I don't think the Vikings are going to get the #1 seed. I think they're going to get the #2 seed, and then hopefully we can try and win a Super Bowl this year. It's fun knowing that, as I said before, your team could make it to the Super Bowl. Like, there's no team that the Vikings couldn't beat, even though they might not be quite as good as the Patriots or quite as good as the Rams this year. They can still beat them and maybe win a Super Bowl, and that's really exciting to think about. So anyway, guys, those were my Vikings season predictions for 2018 to 2019 season. It's going to be really fun this season watching all these teams from the NFC battle it out, because the NFC is going to be insanely good this year, and it's going to be really fun to watch. Please let me know if you want me to do any other kinds of predictions for other teams. Maybe I'm going to go down and do like each division, just predicting, like quickly predicting those games, because I'm not going to spend as much time on each team, obviously, as the Vikings. But maybe I'll do like a division by division thing, like a video for each division. That would be fun for me to do, because I love this NFL stuff. Football is probably my favorite sport to watch. But anyway, thank you guys again. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you on the flip side.